Hello, everybody. This is Daniel, aka the King Burgerson, and here with the Highland Games Cast. What are we on? Episode 50? Did you say 59?
Yeah.
59.
Wow.
This is wild. Episode 59 of the Highland Games Cast. Welcome to the Zelda Mailbag, where we take your questions. We answer them probably. Sometimes, though, gosh, we just get too many questions. So we can't get through them all. So if you really want to guarantee that your question gets answered, you can go to patreon.com and find Mr. Jesse, GameOverJesse, the GameOverJesse, the real one. And you can join the ranks of some of our other lovely patrons, such as Jacob, Michael, Elmer, Bootleg Boy, Gus, who's in the live chat right now, Justin, That One Pancake, Key of Time 15, Monica, Casey, Link uses the Triforce, Megan, Lunarium, Mariam, Robbie, the other one, Robbie, Shadow to Us, Rusty, and Lovable Christy. And yeah, if you guys are watching in the live chat have some questions, I will, as we're going through it, I'll start scooping some of them into our mailbag to answer. And they may or may not get picked. I apologize if we don't get to everyone's questions as well, because we do have some that were sent to us beforehand on Twitter and Discord, etc. But yes, who wants to pick a question to start? Kick things off here. Kick them off.
So
Jesse.
from the live chat, Abigail Garber says, "Do you guys think they will announce a new Zelda game at or before the upcoming Game Awards?" So usually after the Game Awards, PlayStation usually has PSX, where like they show off. It's like a game conference, but just for PlayStation fans. They're not having one this year. Instead, because they're not having one, the YouTube channel Kinda Funny, which is made up of a bunch of games journalists that used to work at IGN, they are having their own conference, which is like a mini E3, where they're getting a lot of developers, not just from PlayStation, but there is going to be some PlayStation stuff there shown off. But it's going to be kind of like how at the Game Awards, where between the awards they'll show off new trailers and stuff. So it's going to be like a continuation of that, but without the awards. So just like new trailers and interviews and stuff that they're showing off, which is going to be really cool. But I expect something Zelda related to be mentioned at either the Game Awards or the after show during the Kinda Funny convention thing.
Oh, I don't agree.
You don't even think a 2D game's coming?
I think it's coming, but I think you know, after everything with Breath of the Wild, and everyone's like, tell us more, and there was this information drought, and then lately they've been like, oh, we're just only going to announce some games that are coming soon. Smash is coming this year, now we'll tell you about it, even though Smash has definitely been in the works for years. Definitely. They probably started planning it before they even finished the DLC for Smash 4, to be frank. And we haven't seen anything about Metroid Prime 4. I would expect to see something about that first before we see anything Zelda. But I mean, Breath of the Wild only came out last year. It's a little. I really want them to, but I guess I'm stowing my excitement so I don't get disappointed. So I don't think so. But Ilya, what do you think, Ilya?
At the rate things are going, I don't think anything's gonna be for or even at the Game Awards. If there was anything, maybe some, like, the most I would expect is a port of Ocarina of Time because it's the 20th anniversary, but I'm not even actually that hopeful for that. Just at the way things are going, and there are so many games coming out right now. Well, maybe not like a ton, but really big games like Smash and Let's Go. Yeah, I just don't see it happening, which I forgot to mention this earlier. Let's Go is coming out the same day that Fantastic Beasts: Crimes of Grindelwald is going into theater, so that's going to be an exciting day.
Oh, really?
Anyway. But yeah, I really don't see it happening. And part of that is me trying not to be hopeful and getting my, heart, let down. But part of it is just, I really don't see it happening.
I think maybe part of why I'm so rarely disappointed by Nintendo is I temper my expectations a bit. It sounds sad to say, but yeah. Sorry, Jesse. We're not trying to rain on your parade, of course.
No, I think another thing that would be more likely is if they showed off the big Mario story DLC, kind of like what they did last year with Breath of the Wild.
Yes.
But it worked really well with Breath of the Wild because then it went on to win like 2 or 3 different awards, including Game of the Year. So it's like the perfect time to announce DLC.
Yeah, seriously.
It's available tonight. And we're like, what?
Yeah.
I remember watching that and I'm like, I don't have a Switch, but I'm going to cry for these people. That's amazing.
I was going to go to bed tonight. Guess I'm not.
Yeah. And I think it's possible that they show off like another sneak peek of Metroid Prime 4.
Yes.
Or like they at least need to come out on stage.
It's been a long time. They should.
Yeah, they at least need to come out on stage and be like, "Hey, we're working on it.
We swear."
Don't worry. We didn't forget, guys. Don't worry.
Even if it's just like a screenshot showing, like what they did with Skyward Sword before they even began Skyward Sword, they showed off the artwork poster, which was like Twilight Princess Link standing behind Fi, but they were drawn in like the Twilight Princess art style instead of the Skyward Sword art style.
Right.
Way back when.
Yeah. And that was like before they'd even...
Good piece of artwork, though.
Yeah. Like
and everyone's like, what's going on? Because Link is standing there, but he's not. He's standing there in like a very battle-ready pose, but then he's not holding a sword.
Yeah.
He has no sword with him, but Fi was with him, so...
Yeah. So maybe if they did something like that. It's just like Zero Suit Samus in the same pose with like the armor laying in the floor in front of her or behind her.
Side note, speaking of Samus, there was a thing that came up on Twitter where someone modded a Samus amiibo, and basically they just changed her pose, and I was like, why did Nintendo not make Samus in this pose? Just as a side note, they just changed her pose and gave her like a thing going on.
There's also
side note, sorry.
The actor who's playing Captain Marvel in the new Captain Marvel movie had a Zero Suit Samus costume for Halloween, and she had like made a post on Twitter that said that she would love to play Samus in an actual movie. So
yeah, that would be cool.
That's another cool thing. Yeah.
If Nintendo wants to do that, which they probably don't yet, but.
All right. Ilya, Daniel, you guys pick a question, maybe, perhaps, possibly.
Sure. There's one that's kind of hard. Hypersonic06 asks in the live chat, Switch or N64 or GameCube?
Switch.
Well, that's what I was going to say at first, too. But here's the thing.
Right now,
I was
GameCube.
like, portability. GameCube, of course, it has a handle. But, because the thing is, I was like, oh, but N64 has so much nostalgia. Even though most of the games that I like on there, which is not many, the ones that I actually would want to play, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, I can play on the GameCube. But I can't play Banjo-Kazooie on the GameCube. But I can play Wind Waker on the GameCube. And I don't know why I would play the old Animal Crossing, but if I had no choice, I would. It really comes down between all of them.
Yeah, so if we were picking, like, right now, with the games that are on Switch and right now with the games that are on GameCube. With the Switch, I'm thinking, like, Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey. Maybe Mario Kart. Yeah. But on the GameCube, you have not just Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, Four Swords, Ocarina of Time, Zelda 1, Zelda 2, Majora's Mask. But then you have like the Game Boy Advance player. So then you can play like all of the Game Boy Advance, like A Link to the Past, Minish Cap, the Oracle games.
Some of the Pokemon games.
Yeah, and then you have like Double Dash. You have Luigi's Mansion, which going back to Luigi's Mansion is just okay. Like, it's not amazing. But then you have Sunshine. So it's
I
like
love Mario Sunshine.
the GameCube has a lot of stuff, but then it's like, but the Switch has Breath of the Wild.
I know. And for me, the N64 has Banjo-Kazooie.
Yeah. So
And
Daniel,
I'll never get an Xbox. I have no interest. So I honestly don't know which one I would pick. It would be too hard.
which one for you, Daniel?
Difficult.
Asking the tough questions. Mr. Sonic 06.
This is a really, I don't know. Each of these consoles is a sort of a representation of a different time of my life.
Yeah.
You know, the N64 was like very much my early childhood. I have a lot of nostalgia for the GameCube because there was the games that my brothers and I played together growing up, like Smash, Soul Calibur 2, a bunch of other ones, but those were the favorites. But the Switch, I mean, is kind of has really enamored me. Jeez, guys. Why you gotta do this to me? It's like picking between babies. You know?
Yeah.
Um,
I say yeah, I
Gosh.
have no children.
I think I'm gonna have to go with the Switch. I love all of these games and all these consoles. But I mean, I have the ability to play all of these games still currently, but I keep going back and playing my Switch. So realistically, if someone was like, okay, you can only keep one of these, and I'd be like, well, I am not done with this Switch. I can, you know, like, I don't want to, but given the ultimatum, I could put the N64 and the GameCube to rest and be like, okay, we had our time together. It was great. But now time to choose, so I choose the Switch. With much grief, you know, it would be with a heavy heart,
Right.
but I could do it, you know.
Actually, finding a loophole, if I may.
Yes,
if-
loophole away.
Even if it was based on, because part of me is like, well, are we basing it on whatever games come out on the Switch? In which case, I would probably choose the Switch because I'm like, I know other stuff is going to come to it, and hopefully, you know, even though it didn't have backwards compatibility, we'll get classics on it like we already have, but keep getting more.
True,
But even
true.
if you based it on only the games you can play right now on the Switch, my loophole would be I'll keep the Switch because I can play all my GameCube games on my Wii.
And I guess virtual console, you could download the N64 games too.
Yeah.
Except just not
Now, if they're
Banjo-Kazooie.
saying I can't use my GameCube controllers either, I might still say Switch, but there's a lot of Zelda games on the game.
True.
So I don't know. That's actually, yeah. But if going with that loophole, if I could still use the controller, then I would say, because I have a Wii. So
All right.
I would never get rid of my Wii because it has my Wii Fit, and I need that.
So
Oh, okay.
before we get to the last question, Brandon, who was donating a lot earlier, asked a question, so I feel obligated to answer
yes,
it. But
yes.
his question is, I would like to ask, what would you like to see in the next Zelda game, guys? We've answered this about 1,000 times, but since you donated, I thought we should answer it again. We have a lot of videos on, one that just posted recently talking about how Al Numa said that he wanted to make a multiplayer Zelda game, and then the president of Nintendo saying they want to put a big focus on online gaming. So if you add those two together, then the next Zelda game's likely going to be like an online multiplayer version of Breath of the Wild. Sort of like going to Triforce Heroes from A Link Between Worlds, but where they used the same engine, but one was multiplayer. I imagine it being something like that, but just reusing the Breath of the Wild engine for multiplayer. So it'll be like the first 3D multiplayer Zelda game. Alternatively, our friends at Hard for Games have been playing Ocarina of Time online multiplayer. So, just wish I had a copy. Anyways, yeah, so that's that. But what I would want is basically just Breath of the Wild with all the things that they purposefully left out, like underwater exploration, standard themed temple dungeons, the hookshot, other classic Zelda items. Just like bring it all back, like everything that was taken out of Breath of the Wild, put it back in, but then keep all the stuff that was in Breath of the Wild. Like give us like 50 or 60 shrines and then like 10 huge dungeons. So
I mean, as long as the amount of hearts and stamina don't decrease because you have less shrines, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like I was fine with shrines. Like they essentially just replace heart pieces. So
I like them.
I
I
like
like the
them.
little puzzles.
Alright,
That's one of my favorite things about Zelda.
Bite size.
Do you guys have anything to say before Daniel picks the final question?
What I would want in the next game is
Pinatas
Yeah.
yes.
and Shrek.
You
I want the
smack it,
dungeons.
a Korok falls out. You're like, what have I done?
I want dungeons. They don't necessarily have to be themed, but more complex dungeons than the Divine Beast. I would like some equivalent to the shrines. I liked having a lot of those little puzzles, even if, you know, because they're basically mini dungeons. I want to keep the climbing mechanic. I really like that. And if you make the graphics even better than they already were, go for it. But everything else needs to be completely new. I want a completely new story, completely new characters, just everything different. Just like the mechanic of puzzles, dungeons, the way you get heart pieces, I like that. The cooking and the climbing, I want to keep all that. But I want everything else to be completely different. I don't want it to feel like Breath of the Wild. I mean, it's very possible that the fact that it would have the cooking and the climbing might make it feel like Breath of the Wild, but I don't want it to feel like Breath of the Wild. I want it to have almost the same aversion that we had going from Wind Waker to Twilight Princess, where it was just like, whoa, that is very different than the last one. But I don't know if that made any sense, but yeah.
It makes sense. My hat, at least. Yes. Ooh, wee. Oh dear, I did a thing. Okay, sorry. I don't have anything to add, really. I mean, we talked about it a lot. There's a lot of videos of ours you can go through. But, I mean, essentially what these guys have said, some new dungeons be good. Maybe a hook shot. Well, anyways.
Yes, I missed the hook shot.
Oh, we got a super chat.
What?
How do you think they will reconnect the timelines? Asked Skillful Swordsman. Hey man, do I have a video for you?
Yes. I do some voices in it.
We've got there's a couple videos I think we had a podcast topic about it. We talked about it. The video I made 2 years ago, that's on the Nintendo Prime YouTube channel, is Breath of the Wild: A Dragon Break, and our good friend Mr. GameOverJesse has a really in-depth video as well that takes that theory and runs 10 miles longer with it, like way more in depth about more of if it's a Dragon Break, how is it a Dragon Break? How would that work? Including the goddess Hylia being there. And I don't remember a lot of the details because I'm a very sleepyhead person. But
Basically,
yeah,
the goddess of time is Hylia, and if anyone would have the power to like reconnect timelines, it would be the god of time. So, yeah.
It's a really good video. Ilya does do some voicing in it.
So does
as well as our friend
McIntyre.
Sexy Mac. Yeah.
The two winners.
Yeah, our two contest winners. So it's a really good video. You should go check it out if you're really curious about timelines reconnecting or converging or dragon breaking, depending on which terminology you want to use. But yeah, man, that's a great question. Thanks.
Yeah. And
thanks
then
for putting that out there.
a few days after the video went up, Nintendo confirmed that Breath of the Wild takes place at the end of all three timelines. So
it's true. So, although I think Nintendo's take on it is it's just an inevitability.
yeah,
It'll just
like
happen,
no matter what happens, it happens.
no matter what.
Yeah.
But we, I guess, are taking it a step further, I guess. So, the sort of inevitability thing is sort of on the same vein of Dragon Break theory anyway, so.
Yeah. I'll go and link that and put it in the chat.
Yes.
It's a
Good idea.
video.
Yeah, so.
I enjoyed voicing it.
As a side
I
note.
always enjoy voicing.
In the chat, Brandon Mabaroshi, I hope I pronounced your name right, Brandon, mentioned about things for the next Zelda game. He said he wants to see more music. So I love the music of the Zelda series. But if you really, like, the Switch and maybe your average TV, like, I don't know, my TV does not do that game's sound justice whatsoever. If you get some really good headphones or like a really good surround sound system or something, and then you play Breath of the Wild, it will freaking change your perception of that game. It will, honestly, it is really good, and it is like almost a shame that there's not hardware good enough, that your average person does not have hardware good enough to output how good that game's sound design is.
It's literally so true. I had like a 13-hour drive. Obviously, I wasn't driving when I did this, to a wedding about a month ago, or a little over a month ago. And part of the drive, I was playing my Switch and I was playing Breath of the Wild. And I remember a long time ago, Daniel mentioning, play with earbuds in, because I always just play it on my TV. And I was just like, oh my gosh, there may not be a ton of music, but what's there is incredible.
Yeah, and it's a lot of people are not into ambiance, but like it's not even just like the ambiance, little piano strums of the music. It's just the sound in general, the footsteps, the sound of life around you. Go through the woods, you hear these birds, you hear where the bird is coming from, like you freaking hear it behind you or something, and then you walk by it and it passes in front of you. Like it's like the best I've heard in sound design in any video game, and I've played my share of video games, I would say. So and it was totally by accident. It's not like I was out. I was someone who loved this game, and I already liked the sound in this game. But basically, at my mother's house, she has essentially a theater room sort of thing. So she's got a projector with like a 10-foot screen and surround sound. And then at one point, I just was, they weren't there. I think I was house sitting for them, for cat sitting. And I was like, you know what, if I'm going to be here for a while, just plug in the Switch, play some Breath of the Wild on a 10-foot screen, because why not? And holy crap, the surround sound, just being in a dark room with just Breath of the Wild and then that surround sound, it was like one of the greatest gaming experiences of my life. Like it was a full immersion. It was incredible. And people are like, oh, it wasn't enough, they had no music, it wasn't epic. But it's just like the tone of the game. And especially the sense, like the scale of the overworld. Can you imagine like how sick of an overworld song you would get? You'd get so tired of that. It doesn't even matter how good of a song it is. You'd get tired of it because you spent so long in that overworld.
But then you have themes like the castle, the Calamity Ganon castle. You get in there and you're like, oh, whoa,
so good.
Whoa, okay.
And there are some good like themes too. The one I don't really like that much is when you're on like the Hebra Mountains, Mount Hylia. Or Mount Lanayru, and there's that sort of
really
icy,
cold area.
Yeah, and it goes the icy sort of theme. It works, but I'm not fond of it. Go into the desert, and there's that sort of just like sound of the wind, and I can't even simulate the sound of the music. And then you get close to a shrine, there's kind of that plucky guitar sound almost, and it's just like, it's incredible. It's freaking great, guys. It's amazing. So, sorry to rant there, guys, but when everyone's like, I don't like Breath of the Wild sound design, I'm like, you haven't you got to give it a chance. You know, if you really put on some good headphones and you try it and you're still not into it, I cannot convince you. I give up. But until, like, you got to at least give it a shot. So.
And while
Sorry.
my last little note on that too is, like, even though I understand the whole, like, oh, but Zelda normally has such epic music, which I totally agree. Normally Zelda has, like, this big, dramatic music that, you know, whether it's, you know, fun and happy like Wind Waker, or it's dark and creepy like Majora's Mask. If you think of the music in the context of the story of Breath of the Wild, it makes sense. It really
totally.
does.
And also,
it's sad that it's not epic, but it makes sense.
Sure. But because it's sort of after the epic events that have already occurred. Well, and also, there's a great video that I've seen where they talk about Breath of the Wild's music and how past Zelda games have had a very very medieval, epic sounding music, and then Breath of the Wild is sort of the next era of games. There's the beginning of a new era, and the music design in that apparently lines up with like a Renaissance style music that came in the real world after medieval style music. I don't know if these are the exact right eras I'm thinking of, but there's a really good video that analyzes that. And if I can find it, I will tweet about it. So at the end of this podcast, when I plug my Twitter, look out for that, because I will try and find that. Yeah, it's something worth. It might also make you think about it a bit more. There's also a donation we got. A super chat.
We have a super chat.
It's our final question.
That's gonna be it. Now that I've derailed the podcast, Gilbert Cast gives us $2. He says, thoughts about the lack of underwater exploration? That's what I want in the next Zelda game.
Yeah.
There's so much water, so many water areas that I feel like we're kind of missing out on in Breath of the Wild, because you can't see what's under the water too.
Yeah, you have the entire ocean that surrounds most of Hyrule, and then you have, like, usually a Zelda game will have like 1 or 2 major water sources, like Zora's Domain and Lake Hylia. Mm-hmm. Ocarina of Time had like the Gerudo River or whatever. I guess you can count that. But Breath of the Wild has like tons and tons and tons of different water sources. So it would be nice to like have more to explore underwater from those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, there was we talked about this ages ago on the podcast. It might have been one of the first ones we did, like a year ago. But there was some concept art from Breath of the Wild, and one of the sort of scrapped ideas from that concept art would have been a divine beast that was underwater, and it was like a big whale divine beast, and it looked
windfish
really cool. So that would have been cool. Like, imagine, you know, you have like an underwater sort of swimming ability, you find the divine beast underwater, and you got to swim into it. You know, and it's got in it some great underwater puzzles, sort of almost like Clanker from Banjo-Kazooie. I don't know.
Yeah, kind of.
But Sheikah aesthetic. I don't know. It would be really cool. But I do miss the underwater parts, because like every Zelda game, every 3D Zelda game has had something underwater before. And unpopular opinion, I like the water dungeons. So I like them.
Brandon in the chat says, remember they had an idea for a 5th divine beast, the whale? That's the model that you can see in the Akala Tech Lab. But they had ideas for like 20 different divine beasts. And they released the concept art for all of it. Some of it was like scary nightmare fuel stuff, like giants. One was like a giant
the giant
bubble thing. Well, it was like a giant bubble thing, like that you would imagine like how the Cars and the Jetsons look, to where it just has like the globe in it, and then there's like a town or a city inside of it, and then it walks around on giant spider legs, kind of like on the War of the Worlds, like those type of robots. Like that's what one of them looked like.
I was thinking of the robot from The Incredibles that he has to make it beat itself up.
Oh yeah.
I always think that I rewatched The Incredibles just before Incredibles 2 came out, and I was like, that's a Guardian. that's a Guardian.
That is a Guardian. Basically just a giant Guardian.
Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine the reason they didn't put the underwater feature in is there was already so much in the games. And I wonder if it would have downplayed the use of what's it called? Is it Cryonis?
Cryonis?
Yeah. Which
Yeah.
I mean, you do need to use it in those quagmire. Is that what it's called? Am I thinking of something else? The muddy areas that you sink if you step into it.
Oh yeah.
Oh yes, yes, yes.
Which I mean, you still could have used it there, but I don't know. I wanted the underwater feature too, but I guess it's also like, they gave me so much in this game.
Yeah.
Next
And
game.
also,
Next
I'm
game,
wondering
guys.
if it just they made it like it was hard to deal with the physics engine.
Maybe.
Like that could be something that was holding them back. So we're just like, you know, we're not gonna this time, maybe next time. Because I know there's an interview where like even just the wind gave them trouble because they were trying to make really good wind physics. And then like Onu was talking about he was testing it, and then he went to this area, and all these things for a puzzle were supposed to be there, but the wind had like blown them away to like a completely different area of the map before he was able to get there, and they had to really fine tune those kind of things to make it still good, but not so impactful to the experience that things like puzzles are going to get messed up. Yeah.
I believe the theory that Nintendo purposefully left out a bunch of stuff just so they would have a way to make the next Zelda game better.
Yeah.
Because if they would have put everything into this Zelda game, then they would have nowhere to go. So they purposefully left out things like, oh, we can take out the hookshot, we can take out underwater exploration, we can take out temples. That way we can put them all in the next game, and we won't have to, like, stress over how we're going to make something even better. We can just make the same thing, but just add all this stuff back, and then it'll instantly be better.
True. I know part of the reason they left out the hook shot, claw shot, whatever you want to call it, is they said it would have downplayed the climbing mechanic, which was so new. But I personally want to be Spider-Man again. That was a fun time in Twilight Princess.
Yeah, and I mean, a way to mitigate that as well is just limit the hookshot to what it can hookshot onto, which is already the case. You can't just hookshot to any wall.
And as far as like using stuff, taking out stuff from one game and putting in another, they've already done that a bunch of times, so wouldn't put it past them at all. We have so many videos on it too on this channel about, you know, they didn't use all these dungeon ideas, put it in the next game, and then they took out those dungeon ideas and put it in the next game. You know, they're always going to have more stuff. I mean, yeah.
All right, Daniel, who are you? Why are you here?
I don't know.
Why do we care about you?
You don't, and I don't blame you. So
I care.
So
Jeez.
I'm Daniel. You can talk to me on Jesse's Discord, which there's a link to in the description, but please also feel free to follow me on the old Twitter and Instagram and Twitch at CapsBurgerson, CapsBurgerson. Especially Twitch. I've been streaming Tuesdays and Wednesdays, although the last couple weeks I've only been able to do one of those 2 days just because scheduling is a nasty nast. So at least on a Tuesday or Wednesday, at least once a week, I'll stream on Twitch. I also have a website called Burgerson Media, or is it Burgers on Media? And that's where I post all sorts of things that I do, like music and things that I've commissioned or had commissioned by people. So if you look at that and you're like, that looks like I would feel okay with paying this guy to make me a thing for my YouTube channel, hit me up. I can do that. So that's me, everybody.
All right, Ilya, who are you? What are you doing here?
I am Ilya Rose. I started here on this channel as a viewer, just like most of you, and then I ended up becoming a narrator and a podcast co-host, which is really cool. But I have a YouTube channel called The Geek Apprentice, but you just look me up by looking up Ilya Rose. And my intro was actually done by Daniel here.
No way.
Note, he did my intro. It looks way better than my original intro. He showed it to me. He was like, I just did this for fun. What do you think? And I was like, can I use it, please? Because it was way better than mine. But yes, I do videos on geeky things: Zelda, Harry Potter, Hunger Games, Disney stuff. I post every other Wednesday for now. But yeah, so I have a video coming out this Wednesday. You can also follow me on Instagram at @EliaRose_GeekApprentice. I have a Twitch, but I don't do anything on there except watch other people. I want to hopefully someday stream, just because it seems like fun to play games with people watching me, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I talk about geeky things. And be sure to be watching Zelda Universe, because they have a thing coming out at the end of this month, which I'm a part of. I play a character in a thing, and it's fun. So if you need people doing voices for you, I can do that. I'm a voice actress, and I specialize in toddler voices. Yep. That's pretty much it.
It's a great thing to specialize.
I am Jesse, and I am tired.
Oh, so
I feel you, dude. It's almost midnight.
So Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, everything is at or / GameOverJesse. You can follow us there. You can join our Discord and talk to all of us and play games with us sometimes if we're in the mood to play games, which will probably be 24/7 once Smash Brothers releases.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
More Smash.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you all for watching. There's 31 of you right now. Earlier we had 40 something. So thank you guys for watching this really late. Luckily it's not 3 a.m. like it was last time when we had Maya and Miss Click. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Ilya. Bye, everybody.
Jesse. Bye.
Hey everyone, it's me again, Ilya Rose. I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching this video. And you know what? If you're a fan of videos like this, you should totally subscribe and give this video a like, and comment below to let us know what type of videos you would like to see us create in the future. And if you would really like to support all of us here at the GameOverJesse channel, please consider purchasing a GameOverJesse t-shirt or becoming a Patreon at patreon.com/GameOverJesse, where you can receive many rewards, such as getting shoutouts, having any topic or theory that you select discussed on the podcast or made into its own video, having your question answered, joining on as a guest on the podcast, and playing with us during our Twitch live streams at twitch.tv/GameOverJesse, and much, much more.